MandaloreGaming, everybody. Welcome to Solo ReacTalk. Today I'm going to be reacting to MandaloreGaming Callisto Protocol review requested by Alpha Shocker. If you guys want to check out the original video as well as MandaloreGaming's YouTube channel, the links are in the description below. And if you want to check out my previous reaction to other MandaloreGaming videos, remember the playlist card is going to be at the top here. Just click on it and be able to access them. And yes, Alpha Shocker, I told Alpha Shocker that I was going to react to this video on Friday last week, but I couldn't. I've had a lot of work to do, so this is the only time that I have available right now. So I'm sorry, Alpha Shocker, that it's come this late, but hopefully you can forgive me. And guys, let us start. 3, 2, 1, go.
The Callisto Protocol has been having a rough time, to put it lightly. A spiritual successor to Dead Space with many of those core team members on board, that released in a rough state on PC, has combat that's still being tweaked pretty heavily, and is now competing against Dead Space the Dead Space.
Dead Space. Oof. Guys, I don't really have a good experience with Dead Space. It's not the game, it's not how the game is made. It's just that it is really, it's scary. It's filled with a lot of horror. And I didn't finish Dead Space 2. I was advised by my friends to play the game because they enjoyed it, they had fun, and they advised me that I should also play the game, and I just could not finish it. It was just so scary. Like, I still remember that first guy who died. When Isaac was being woken up by this guy, I don't know what his name was again. I can't remember his name. He was trying to help him up. He was trying to talk to him, and then the monster just stabbed him in the chest, and then also stabbed him in his forehead, and then he transformed into, oh gosh, like, I was traumatized by that. I was really, really traumatized. I'm okay with horror games. I'm okay with scary games, but this one in particular, it just hit me in a place I never thought existed. Really, it was scary for me. And even the movie. I don't know if you guys know about what is it called again? Dead Space. I think it was called Downfall, right? And there was this woman who was, she was stabbed at the back with a chainsaw of some sort, like some sort of like light chainsaw. I'm not entirely sure what it was. Like this, I watched this movie a long time ago, but yeah, she was stabbed in the back, and then, like the chainsaw was just being risen up, and she was being cut from her stomach all the way to her head, and you could see her facial expression, the pain, the suffering, and I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I did finish the movie. I did complete the movie, but after that, I did not want to do anything more with Dead Space. I gave up. I gave up. So, guys, don't hate on me too much for not liking Dead Space. I'm not the biggest fan of Dead Space. I respect it, as art, as a game, I really do, but I just can't do it. Maybe I'm older now, so maybe I can handle it, but I had nightmares. I had some long, painful nightmares. Yeah. Okay. Oh, I'm digressing. Okay, let's continue. Sorry.
Or Dead Space 23. Spiritual successors can love doing the, hey, remember that? Except now, instead of purely tapping into nostalgia, it's essentially advertising a different game. I can't remember the last time I've seen something like this. But that said, I'm not going to mention the remake much, especially since this game came out before that, possibly to prevent that kind of comparison. But the original is definitely in play. Because if it wants to call back to the original trilogy as much as it does, then alright. Now, I did try to engage with it as its own thing. I played through it several times, found all the secrets, and even listened to the audio drama.
We're asking the questions around here, old-timer, so why?
Her face looks familiar. She really looks familiar. I just... Okay.
Why don't you shut that metal squawk box you call a voice?
This voice is from a windpipe implant I got after a shootout on Ganymede. Keep talking to me like that and you'll find out what happened to the other guy.
Wait, you had Michael Ironside and didn't put him in the actual... So it still has a lot to talk about on its own terms. Though, there is the PUBG connection to talk about, which I was not expecting. They said they got rid of that, but it's going to come up in the spoilers. That about covers all the background basics, so what's this game all about? Fortunately, it's pretty simple. It's a few centuries in the future, and humanity has colonized parts of the solar system. Most of the colonies are overseen by the United Jupiter Company, or UJC.
Wait a minute. Let me write that down. UJC. United Jupiter Company. Alright, so there's a company that has control over Jupiter and its moons. Okay. One would have thought maybe like a country, but no, instead it's a company. Okay.
A thorn in their side is a radical terrorist group called the Outer Way, which has been wreaking havoc. Most recently, its leader Danny Nakamura led a huge attack on the Europa colony. The population was massacred, and you got out just in time. You play as Jacob Porter Lee, a UJC cargo ship pilot who works aboard the Karen. Jacob's latest runs have been from Black Iron Prison, a former mining colony on Jupiter's moon of Callisto. This contract has been so good that soon Jacob will never have to work again. His co-pilot Mac...
Wait a minute, that guy also looks familiar. Not you, the other guy. Wasn't he the actor on Transformers, right? Yeah, and some other romantic movie. I forgot what the name was of that romantic movie. I liked it. I can't remember the name. Like he was adopting a child or something with this woman, and you know they were living a fake relationship until it actually turned into a real relationship. You know, I think that's how it went. Yeah. Okay, but I know that guy.
Thinks it's too good to be true and that something's up, but Jacob just tells him not to think about it. They're almost done after all. Until the Karen is boarded by the Outer Way, led by Danny herself. He vents his cargo into space in a desperate attempt to eject the boarders.
What are the chances that the leader of a terrorist organization would head into your freighter ship? You know, come aboard your freighter ship. What are the chances of that actually happening? And this suspicious cargo, you know, that you're supposed to be transporting from wherever to wherever, you know, will set you up for a lifetime. Nah, man, there's something going on here. Definitely, it's fishy.
The terrorists are now orbital Haagen-Dazs, but the Karen was damaged in the ordeal and violently crashes down into Callisto. Jacob survives unharmed, Max can now only get work as a Ju-On cast member, and then he dies. You're then treated to one of the most compassionate rescues I've seen in all of fiction.
Oh, big boy.
One life sign detected. Continuing search.
Captain Ferris was sent from the prison to get you out, and finds another survivor, Danny. Jacob is still reacting to this when the warden calls and orders his arrest as well.
Wait a minute. They said they're on Callisto, right? Callisto is one of the moons orbiting Jupiter. And Callisto does not have a thick atmosphere. It's very thin. It's an extremely cold environment. Not like how it's been depicted here. Because here we're seeing snow, we're seeing wind, you know, we're seeing snow particles descending on the floor. Not like this. Not like this. You could think maybe like the moon. How it's so still, but it's also extremely cold. You know? And these guys are out here with their bare hands, they're not protected by any kind of spacesuit. We just saw one of the terrorist personnel, or should I say the terrorist lady. She only had a mask on, and that's it. Guys, this is not Callisto. I'm sorry. There is no atmosphere on this moon, or if there is, it's barely existing. You can't just walk out there without a spacesuit. So yeah, I don't know what happened to this Callisto. Maybe they terraformed it to make it look this way, because yeah, I mean, there's an ice storm on Callisto.
And that's our title drop.
Hey! I didn't do anything!
Welcome to Black Iron Prison. Here's your complimentary health bar. And even though you were supposed to be here for life, you're going to be let out early. The prison is currently dealing with an unknown disease of the Tom Savini variety. So, get out of prison. Let's talk about the graphics. On a technical level, a lot of meaningless terms are thrown around like quadruple A level of production, that kind of marketing speak you'd expect to see on a Star Citizen delay post. So as
Oh, MandaloreGaming, no. Don't do this to Star Citizen. I think the fans won't like what you just said there. But yeah, what does quadruple A, what does that mean? But anyways, yeah.
the human, I'll say this game looks incredibly expensive, and what you're seeing is kind of selling it short. Besides usual YouTube compression, Callisto Protocol supports ray tracing, which can add a lot to some games, but you won't see it in this video for a few reasons. For one, I don't have the latest and greatest GPU line since the new Nvidia stuff looks like a ripoff, and turning on reflections cut my FPS in half without looking much better. As for ray traced shadows, they look horrible. It's like shimmering bugs are crawling across every surface. Even if I could run this, I wouldn't, since it looks way better without it. The light and reflections can look better than this, the shadows will just give you horrible hatching until they patch it. Callisto's a very visually detailed game, maybe the most out of anything I've played so far.
Yeah, it does look very, good. Especially like with the detailing, like to the smallest things to the biggest things, it's very detailed. Whoever was making, or should I say the gaming developing company, they really did focus on making this game really believable, it's good. It's good. It's just that I won't be able to play such a game on my computer. There's no way. There's no way. There is absolutely no way. My computer will die.
Industrial environments can be so full of pipes and wires and other greebles that it gives me the same feeling of forgetting how my Factorio base works. Even the surface of Callisto can have a lot of richness and atmosphere.
You see what I'm talking about, guys? There's even lightning on Callisto. I think this is one part that they should have done more research on, the moon Callisto orbiting Jupiter for the game. They really should have actually, take out a textbook on astronomy and check out, what the moon Callisto really looks like. And how would it be like if you were on the surface of Callisto? Because I don't think it would look like this. Really. There is ice on Callisto, right? But it's frozen. You could say Callisto is like Europa. Also another moon orbiting Jupiter, However, the water, or should I say the ice, does not cover the entire moon like Europa. There are pockets of, ice on Callisto, and, that's about it, really. One of the main features. It's either the ice or craters on the moon, And really, for a storm to be produced on Callisto, I don't think it's possible. Really, I just don't think this is possible. So I think here they're exaggerating a bit, trying to make it scary and dark. But yeah, mainly you would actually just see Jupiter in the sky, and you'd see the star or the sun. You'd see the sun and maybe some other stars in the sky, but you wouldn't have clouds and lightning and snow, coming down onto the planet like this. I don't think so. No. If I'm wrong, guys, you know, in the comment section, tell me. Correct me.
Sphere to it, with some attention given to how you interact with the snow around you. The character models, and especially the animation in the face, may be some of the best I've seen in a game so far. Making the game look as real as possible clearly was a priority. Even besides faces, thought was given to what factors would change an animation. Are you walking or running down the stairs? Are you doing it with a weapon? Hell, if you upgrade that weapon with a grip, Jacob can change how he holds and shoots it. Sometimes. You can physically see your stored weapons, how you get caked in blood or prison Hershey's. I mean, it being so high-res is good on the fact that half the screen can sometimes be dedicated to the Jacob zone, but without a doubt they're pushing the graphics to be grounded, with some extremely impressive results at times. Every few years we get one of these games that really pushes some aspect of graphical realism forward, which overall can be a good thing for the greater game ecosystem. You know, technique and technology is pushed forward, but those games themselves... Sometimes that graphical power comes at a cost. When realism is the driving force without options, that sacrifices convenience. When Arthur Morgan loots bodies or skins animals, it looks seriously impressive, until it gets old and you want to skip it. Even moving and playing is slower, less immediately responsive than other games. You move between stances and go at the speed a real person does. Everyone knows Red Dead Redemption was wildly successful, so the approach can work. But how does that go in an action horror game where you fight swarms of I can't believe they're not zombies? Where the act of even buying ammunition has to make sure you're immersed in the setting. When you're making a game, a human player is an endless ocean of what will they do and what will we do about it. You have fantastic games that embrace that. Then sometimes the studios die and the developers go crazy, because they spent sleepless nights wondering how many tin cans they could put in a room until someone stacks it and breaks the level. Like, Arx Fatalis can look janky, but this is a video game. Generally, gameplay that looks more realistic comes at the cost of how much control a player has over it. Callisto is on the level of you cannot play it while an audio log is running. You can only listen to it in the menu and not in gameplay.
Wait a minute, what? So, what if you're attacked while you're still listening to a voice recording or an audio recording? What if you're attacked? That means you'll have to exit out of this UI system and then proceed to continue, you know, fighting against whatever's attacking you. You'll be exposed.
Had found a way to do it, like maybe it was unclear controls, but they patched that out. Where enemies would once swarm you, they patched their AI so they only fight you one at a time. There's more to talk about with that later, and I'm not saying the launch version was the hidden combat system no one understood.
That's weird though. Seeing these two, you know, zombies or creatures just taking turns at fighting you, instead of both of them coming and attacking you at the same time. That's just weird. Why would they have such, you know, respect for one another, you know, to say, you go first. And then he comes back and he's like, okay, it's your turn. Guys, nah, that's weird.
This was Glenn's intention for how he wanted you to play it. No. Fighting multiple enemies always looked weird and janky, so the post-launch changes were made to prevent that situation from happening. It used to require more strategy and quick thinking to prevent you from being overwhelmed, but being overwhelmed looked like dying in a tumble dryer. The issue is, this approach has made the combat flawed on a fundamental level, no matter what patch version or console you're playing on. I'm sorry if I've gotten too far ahead, it's just that hyper-visual realism is a root cause of many other mechanical issues. Keep that in mind. As for art direction, this'll sound weird, so stick with me. The environment is at its best when it's embracing its main premise. It's a prison colony on another world. Like, the main cell blocks are a panopticon that goes who knows how far down. Solitary is a torture box that hangs over the abyss. You can find the handiwork of other inmates getting their hands on the guards. On the planet's surface, sometimes you can only track enemies by flashes of lightning or finding their trails in the snow. I'll say
Correction, moon, not planet.
it again, there are times when the game can have excellent atmosphere. Then you have the sewer, or adjacent sewer halls, or underground shantytown. Sometimes it's a dystopian space prison, sometimes it's a vaguely industrial hall that you could pick out from any other game. I don't think I've been to space prison since the Riddick game, so it's a neat setting to see brought to life. It just sucks when it turns generic and you get the parade of concrete pipe rooms.
Riddick had a game? The Chronicles of Riddick? That movie has a game? Oh wow, okay. I didn't know about that.
You know the ones. You've seen these. A lot of the enemy designs are in that category too, and to make it worse, there's an extremely low variety of them. Something a little depressing is that one of the more interesting enemy designs is a head that emerges from an egg like a snake and tries to murder you. Except that it's a QTE enemy, which they've placed around enough that it's annoying and you'll hate him by the end. It's also one of 2 QuickTime Event exclusive enemies, and we'll get into this game in QTEs. But it's also that this is the grabber that was cut from Dead Space 1 in 2008. It's clear people there liked Extraction, but this can't be where the ambition was at. The enemy variety being so low that an old, cut Dead Space design feels like a highlight is just bizarre. Though on the mini-boss front there is the 2-headed man. I hope you like the 2-headed man. 8 heads are better than 1. You can never have enough werewolves. They did bring back the brutal, elongated death animations, and those are welcome. They also toned down their frequency so you die in a matter-of-fact way more often, which is also good. As for music, the tension-building tracks are serviceable, nothing really memorable. It's kind of a droning loop where sometimes something sticks out, but not for too long.
Shut down.
I don't hear anything. I hear, the outside environment. I hear the sirens. I hear people dying. And I hear, the main character. But no music, really. Okay, here I can hear something like suspenseful music, but it's very low and almost non-existent, really. Huh. I guess this is just to set the mood of the game, you're not supposed to having this bombastic type of music that's gonna, make you feel like, I'm confident, I can do this, It doesn't give you that energy about it. It's low, and it makes you focus on what's going on around you. You can even hear the creatures, snarking and making those noises. So, you have to get yourself ready with your gun or with your, I don't know, it looked like a bayonet, like he was carrying a bayonet. You need that stuff as well, so you can prepare yourself to fight against these creatures. So maybe having bombastic music or having music that's very defined is going to be distracting. Yeah.
There were some tracks I dug, like some of the combat music and the fun little uncovering the mystery theme, so it did have its moments. When it comes to sound design, the environment was the winner by miles. It is so rich and layered, and machinery can be especially impressive. Sometimes you can roughly track an enemy by where it's clunking around an event. How it uses spatial sound is the best I've heard in a AAA game in a long time. Maybe that was what they meant by quadruple A.
Oh wow, it's like that that kinetic module that you'd have in Dead Space 2. Yeah. Oh, okay, that's cool. For a second there, I thought he was using the Force. I was gonna be like, wow, in Callisto Protocol they have the Force, but okay. Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. Why is this here? Why is there this, what do I call it? Like, it's just like a propeller of some sort, Why is it exposed like that? I think it's just for, the player to use this telekinesis, module to throw the enemies at this propeller machine. Yeah. It's just for convenience and entertainment's sake. Yeah, okay.
The melee combat, which you'll be doing a lot of, also sounds good and meaty. Different story for the guns. As great as the environment...
Did I say bayonet? I think I meant baton. No, yes. Bayonet, baton. I'm mixing them up. But yes, I like that thing that he's carrying and, you know, hitting on these monsters. Yeah. Because it had some sort of like an electrical energy flow to it. Yeah, it was cool. Okay.
As most of the weapon and enemy sounds are pretty stock. I can't think of anything I found distinctive or memorable about them. I couldn't shake the feeling that the look and sound of the world was a priority and what actually inhabited it was an afterthought. Like, the sound of the vending machine stuck out to me. There was no unsettling distant enemy roar, and even the timing on some of the jump scares seemed slightly off. I mean, it's rarely subtle anyways, they love showing you the scary thing. They actually started banking on it filling your entire screen, so it's shocking they didn't do more with the environment. I guess I don't feel too bothered by a blue-collar Freddy Fazbear. If your sound technology is that good, you'd think you'd play with it more, but they rarely do. Instead, it's be in your face and loud. You can do that sometimes, it's just annoying to see such a waste of potential. Speaking of annoying, audio logs. The delivery is competent, and so are the background effects. Across the whole game, nothing sounds outright bad. The worst it gets to is, that's okay.
It's the only way. Otherwise, they just get bigger, stronger.
These are...
Why does it have to be so muffled like that? I mean... guys, no. No, make it clear. Make it crystal clear. I mean, these guys are in the future. Such things should be, you know, dealt with by now. But instead, they're still having this muffled sound when people are calling each other or having a voice recorder. Come on.
Generic, which is what makes them so irritating. If they were amazing or funny bad, I might not mind. But if you're forcing everyone to stop in their tracks and listen to these, then there should be something more
Captain Leon Ferris, you also look very familiar. Yeah, you do look very familiar. But from where?
Substantial here. Going back to this game's roots, System Shock 2 has some of the best audio logs in games, and you don't have to pause for those.
Glory to the many.
I am a voice in their choir.
I think he's dead.
This kind of thing drives me crazy, so enough of that, let's get into the mechanics. In combat, the melee is extremely simple. So simple that people were dying because they didn't comprehend how easy it was. To dodge, you alternate between moving left and right. It's not based on what arm they're attacking with or where they're coming from, just pick left or right and then keep switching back and forth. You melee them when they're not attacking, and the cycle repeats. However, you can also block. Any blocks you see here were either an accident or I recorded them just for this video. Well, here he just QTE grabbed me so that didn't matter. Anyways, if you block them you take some damage, but less than if they'd hit you without you blocking. There are no block-only attacks, but there are some attacks that can't be blocked. These can be avoided by dodging, where again, you take no damage. Now this seems confusing at first, but I asked one of my friends who's big into Tekken about this. Our methods were different, but we hit the same conclusion, which is, why the fuck would you ever block? And they will tempt you with upgrades for the stun baton. Unlock the counter and
Yes, stun baton. Thank you, MandaloreGaming. Because at first I think I said bayonet when I should have said baton. Thank you.
sweep them off their feet. It's more tolerable on lower difficulties since on maximum security you scrounge for supplies and the enemies hit like trucks. But it doesn't change the fact that no matter how high you upgrade your baton, you get the same result of taking some hits when you could have just not gotten hit. It's a survival horror game where you don't know when you're getting more health, or buying it is stupidly expensive. There's no perfect parry or perfect dodge, the screen goes slow-mo sometimes, which is neat. I'm not sure why, like maybe that was implemented at one point. But while you have better tools for crowd control, in certain situations, I could see the block maybe being useful in the launch version. In this one-on-one arcade brawler version, there's no reason for it. Actually, sent to a mining prison colony, ancient horror beneath it, melee combat that falls apart in a group. Is this gothic? Oh god. So now we throw guns into the mix. You can try to use your guns as guns, but this will become less and less effective on higher difficulties. They're good on tiny enemies, the grabbers and the two-headed man, but not the standard goons. Instead, your guns are mainly used as a kind of combo finisher. It's not as cool as Gun Kata or Devil May Cry, you just sort of snap into it and do it. It's also not necessary for about the first third of the game. You can use guns to take away a ranged attack from one of the enemies, but melee upgrades are still more effective. By scavenging around the prison, you can find money or trinkets to bring to a 3D printer. From here, you can upgrade your weapons, including an alt fire at the end.
This is actually kind of cool. This 3D printer that prints out your weapon like that's cool. That's actually very cool.
You automatically get two, a pistol and a shotgun. Though through exploration you can find other weapon schematics like a pistol and a shotgun. And a rifle. But that's not the whole story since, after all, Dead Space weapons can have pretty wild alt fires. In Callisto, you have the hand cannon's explosive rounds, the riot shotgun's explosive rounds, the skunk gun's homing rounds, the rifle's homing rounds, and the tactical pistol's burst fire, which has mule kick recoil. If you did make the mistake of buying the new weapons, you still get ammo for them. You can never store them away, and ammo will keep dropping, which is a problem when you only have 6 inventory slots, later getting up to 12. The arsenal with the alt fires is already really uninspired and dull, but I swear someone tried to hide it, because some upgrades are borderline scam expensive. To demonstrate how mind-bogglingly fucked the balance is, let me show you this. When I beat my new maximum security run, it opened up New Game Plus. You don't get New Game Plus rewards like extra money, or a skin, or anything, you just get to go through it again. And I did. I explored everywhere, sold everything, only tried to get upgrades. And when I got to the last printer in the game, I still didn't have every upgrade because they're just that expensive. I did.
Wow. So they want you to play this game repeatedly, you know? Keep playing it till the end, play another game, play another game, play another game, you know, get that money so you can get the best upgrades for whatever weapon that you, desire to have the best, you know? Yeah. I don't know. I think if I were to be playing this game, I'll be playing it once, and then I'm done. I'm done.
Do it halfway through a third run out of pure spite, where I then learned from Steam that more people have beaten New Game Plus than unlocked all the upgrades, because you need to play it efficiently 2.5 times to have any chance. And no, the money drops based on difficulty aren't going to be high enough margins to make a difference. You need to sell high-value items that are static, like from boss fights or treasures, all in service of the most premium Madagascar vanilla weapons you could have in a third-person shooter, to the point it's copying them and their secondary fire modes. Then make it horribly expensive so maybe less people will know. And what really gets me is, there's room for another there. The most fun thing in the game is the grip module. It's like Dead Space's Kinesis, but Sam Witwer's in the game, so they force unleash.
Yes, Sam Witwer, yes. I knew I recognized that face. That Captain Leon someone. Yes, that's him right here with the bald head.
The hell out of it. You can throw objects like Kinesis, but it's more fun to just throw the whole enemy.
Yes, I think I would also use this weapon as my primary weapon, and not really use these other types of weapons that Mandalore Gaming has been showing us. I think I'll use that stun baton and use this telekinesis gauntlet. I think that's what it is. Yeah, I would use that because it really looks cool, really, you know, to throw people around, throw them into those blades, rotating blades. That's what I would do.
You can juggle them around for crowd control or chuck them into violent machinery. There are even the designated grip amusement parks where you chuck your enemies into the big machines over and over again. It is mindless, but it's fun because it's one of the few times in the game where it feels like you're fully in control.
Yeah, man. Like, who built this thing here? What is it meant for? Really?
Not since Dark Messiah have there been so many convenient spike walls, and you can upgrade this thing too, so another reason to avoid new guns. I love the effects on it too, and it makes me sad we didn't get this creativity on something like a ranged energy weapon. Even without that, grip feels fun where melee feels tedious. The main use of ranged weapons becomes shooting the tentacles, which is simple. Eventually, when enemies take enough damage, they erupt tentacles, and if you don't shoot these or break them in time, they'll completely regenerate and become crab people. They hit harder and take more punishment, so it does push you to be faster, but they can be dodged all the same.
So these things are like Frieza, you know? They have a first transformation, then the second transformation, then the final transformation. Huh, okay.
And ultimately, the almighty grip doesn't care how many tentacles they have. This is another example of wasted potential because when they were first showing off the game, the enemies looked pretty generic. I was hoping they were hiding more interesting designs away, so when I first saw this, I was pretty excited. Maybe your upgrades or your inventory or something might affect what they can mutate into. Or at least, if you didn't shoot the tentacles fast enough, they'd mutate into a new form that you'd have to change up the strategies for. Maybe one would grow some kind of weapon that you can only block and not dodge, stuff like that. Instead, they're always the same. One character even goes,
I think those things are changing. They're evolving.
And it's like, what a great idea. Your enemies start as generic zombies, but as the game goes on, they become more twisted and alien and you have to change up how you play. Instead, it's zombies that sprout burla pasta all the way through. I can't overstate enough how much the lack of variety hurts it. Even beyond the necromorphs, it's established that insane killers are on the loose. Or fight the prison guards, who can be just as bad.
Oh my gosh. Did they hang those people and started chopping off their legs? Oh gosh.
How about the robots? I love the robots.
Inmates, cease all hostile activity.
These guys are great. Their heads are like giant closed-circuit television cameras. They're imposing and brutal.
They kind of look like the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica, you know, but a suited up version of them. Yeah, the Centurions. From the 2006 Battlestar Galactica. I'm not talking about the first Battlestar Galactica. Yeah.
The game teaches you to sneak past them, and then you encounter two. And because they're introduced as being so powerful, the game lets you know to shoot them in the face.
Only two? You only fight against two of them? Okay.
This blows my mind. It's like someone said, we introduced the security robots as being too scary and people won't want to fight them. So don't let someone make a decision or experiment. Tell them it'll be okay.
Unit immobilized. No signal.
It still says something as it dies. Wow.
Error code J1 not have a united day.
You just saw all the robot fights. The others are all broken. I thought for sure one would spring to life and grab you for an easy QuickTime event jump scare, but instead they're just more set dressing.
It would have been better if you could reprogram one to become your companion, you know? So it's not just you alone who has to go throughout all of this, you know, this horror show. You know, at least you have a buddy who can protect you, who can aid you in your, defense, and, you know, you finish the game with this trusty robot on your side. But...
And I don't know if I should be thankful for that or not. The game is already chock full of QuickTime events, including the open a door variety. Also, someone really liked that one box of swarmers in Dead Space, so that can happen sometimes. They're frequent and contribute to what I hate about this game more than anything. Is that a grabber? Okay. Oh, for the love of God. Let's glide back to the Ishimura for a moment, because that game had QuickTime events too. The necromorphs come in all kinds of flavors, but they share one thing visually, which is stay away. They're gross, they cut you apart or jump all over you. If you were having to mash a button, that typically meant you screwed up and one got too close. Isaac's melee doesn't look...
That always happened to me. They always got too close to me. because I would panic, you know. I wouldn't, like, even if I had a gun, like, I would start panicking and I would start shooting all over the place instead of shooting at the creature. And then the creature would come up close, personal with me, and I'll have to make like a close quarter battle with it. So yes, that always happened to me.
Or feel powerful, it's desperate. Having control ripped away from you was alarming because you weren't used to that. Dead Space 2 had these as well, and they'd show up in some action set pieces. Again, not too often, but it introduced another way to take away control. At a few points, you might have to crawl through a vent. It wasn't often, and a good half the time something would happen, like the vent collapsing or something waiting for you. Since I played it after Callisto a while back, I decided to count it. I didn't count backtracking for something like the Pang puzzle, and to be nice to Callisto, I didn't count anything under 10 seconds. Now, I have a local cult in my area recruiting by putting index cards above the urinals in grocery stores.
A cult?
They seem pretty bonkers, like big time crazy, but thank you to the Galaxy Federation.
The truth will set you free. God Kingdom is coming to Mother Earth now. Check it out on YouTube. The Galaxy Federation of Light. Wait. Let me zoom out a bit. The Galaxy Federation of Light channel, bless you always. Love Mother, Father God, I am light worker. Okay.
Of light for this index card. Anyhow, the final count was 7, with something scary happening 3 times. For the Callisto Protocol, a game roughly the same length, the final count was 23. Again, I wasn't counting short vents, or any wall shimmy, which I really should have been. And yes, I know it's a way to hide area loading, and when the game is this detailed, that means a lot of loading. My point is, you feel little control just holding forward, and you do that a lot. Then you dare to enter a room and get punished for it with a quicktime event. Enter the Orb of Melee. Alternate between left and right to dodge. It's not engaging, and the fun, more clowny looking methods seem to not be what the game wants. Not having the camera fixate on an enemy or anything else out of your hands means staying at range, which, as we've gone over, the game doesn't seem to want you to do that outside of the grip fun zones.
And yet, it emphasizes on physical attacks. Okay, yeah, no. I don't know why did they make the game do this? Why are they allowing this to happen? You know? Because it just doesn't make the game as fun as it should be. You know, you'll be blindsided. You won't know what's going on behind you because the camera is focused solely on the particular opponent you're facing, you know, forward. But you don't know what's happening behind you. You don't know what's happening on your sides. You'll have to turn around also with the camera to turn around with you. So, yeah, I don't think that's really fun.
Melee is too integral even on a visual design level. Dead Space was built entirely around keeping your enemies back. Use weapons, use powers. The necromorphs will tear you apart up close. Keep them away. Callisto...
I never got the memo to that. They always came so close to me, and I always had to fight against them with my bare hands. So yeah.
Callisto Protocol has a different approach.
Bayonet. Oh, baton. Sorry. I'm still stuck with bayonet.
Konani to Naskanai. Shikashi... Wasoretata.
What?
Oh, Shokushu! Okay, this might have been exaggerated. The point is, trying to invoke Dead Space feels completely empty. Compared to Dead Space 2, I might even say, my mom won't hate this game. It does have the Transformers guy, but I know he was in a bunch of romantic comedies too.
Yes, he was. Well, I've only watched him in one romantic comedy movie. But mainly just Transformers. that's where I know him from the most, the Transformers movies.
Don't know many Josh Duhamel movies. What has Josh Duhamel been in?
I know about 88 Josh Duhamel movies including Transformers, Dark of the Moon, Transformers, Revenge of the Fallen, Transformers.
Okay, I get it. I could pick out homages and speculate on what is and isn't, but there's one I want to focus on because it's so strange. It's a section in Dead Space 3, actually. After traveling through a frozen hellscape, you come to the rusted remains of an old colony. It's deep underground, and you face off against blind, emaciated creatures. You can sneak past them, but these stealth sections are tiny, and you miss out easy loot. Killing them was a right choice, and a lot of people didn't even know this could be a stealth section. Okay, Callisto Protocol.
Alright, so this prison was built on top of a colony. And the colony is filled with these types of zombie creatures. Alright, so why would they build a prison on top of it? Why didn't they just destroy the the colony if it was infected with whatever these monsters are, and then, you know, they would build the prison on a very cleared out, you know, piece of land, if I could say that. You know, why would they build it directly on top of this colony? What's the purpose of that? Are they testing out, this disease on the inmates in the prison? Is that why they built it on top of the colony?
After traveling through a frozen hellscape, you come to the rusted remains of an old colony. It's deep underground, and you face off against blind, emaciated creatures. You can sneak past them, but you've got the stealth takedown. It's longer, but even if they find you, Sir Kicksalot left all the spike walls around. They can't swarm you, they'll only fight one at a time. It's surreal because long ago I saw how this section could be better. They clearly went into it with the same thought in mind, making it longer, but they made it less tense because their combat options trivialize it, and fighting them without grip or stealth kills would just be tedious as they line up and take a number. This is the best example of the combat being brain dead easy or chopping down a forest in Minecraft. They added a hardcore mode recently, which I did try, but when the enemies in the tutorial were taking a dozen hits to kill and dropping between 1 and 2 Callisto funbucks, I decided I didn't want to die of tedium. That's the word. It has its moments, but overall this game feels tedious. I can only wonder what went on behind the scenes because something doesn't feel right about it. A lot of time and talent was put into making the death animation sick. It's too bad that being alive isn't 10% that entertaining. You know what? Let's talk about the story. As great—
Oh, finally. That's what I'm also here for, mainly the storyline, because this is interesting. That they would build a prison on top of a dead colony. And in this colony, it had these creatures inside it. And the main character has been transporting some sort of cargo, and it would have set him up for life. And there was a terrorist that somehow, some way got on board his ship, And now that terrorist and him have been sent to life in this prison. So yeah, it's fishy.
As the world can look, it's impressive how little you know about it. It's a two-level problem. Dead Space gave you glimpses into the greater world and setting, which you didn't need, but it was expanded on more in 2. If the story you're telling is compelling enough, you don't need to explain all the lore fluff. But if you give people both, that can enhance the core experience. Or maybe the story being told isn't that interesting, but playing the game and being in the world is good enough that it doesn't matter.
I need the game storyline. That's very important to me. The game can be looking very advanced, very beautiful with the graphics and everything else. Looks very eye-catching and appealing. But if the storyline is not really interesting, then I'm not going to enjoy playing the game. I need that story. It has to be good. It has to be convincing.
Even if the gameplay is terrible, a great, interesting story can push you through it. Only an interesting setting is much harder. Still, a lot of people can latch on to lore. So imagine my surprise when Callisto conveys virtually none of it. There are no text entries, and audio logs don't say anything about the greater setting. The most you get are snippets in the character biographies. And even these are one note, they're more just to show that everyone working at Black Iron is awful. Yeah, prison staff aren't the cream of the crop. We're not breaking new ground. Some sci-fi jargon fluff can make the world seem deeper, but the story is so generic it's writing off of obvious cliches. Maybe the UJC isn't good. You know why. Because they're the company. It's hard to word, it's like, you only have things you've seen before to go off of, and all those assumptions will turn out to be true. The most interesting aspects are mainly empty, so your imagination fills them. But get this, that Helix Station audio drama I mentioned has a lot more insight into the world. The UJC have these Starship Trooper commercials, you understand more the state of Earth and how the solar system is the way it is. There are rumors of space station colonists called Gummers that had all their hair and teeth fall out, and their bodies have degraded in 0G. The main character and story have so much more going on that it looks like Lord of the Rings next to the game. It's extremely well produced with good acting, and still very generic. It's listening to a high-budget alien RPG session. That feeling refreshing tells you how dire things are.
Where am I going?
If you don't want to learn the mysteries of Black Iron Prison and PUBG, go to here.
No, I'm staying. I'm gonna stay right here.
One note also applies to the character stuff. Despite being a cargo pilot, Robert E. Lee takes Will to prison very quickly. He meets another prisoner named Elias who will serve as the guy in the chair who can help them both get out. I'm sure I had the same thought a lot of people did, which is I wish you could spend more time in the regular prison before things go to shit. But that could also make you feel less lost, prolong the inevitable, and areas that could be important like the yard or the mess hall just aren't in the game. As I said before, the prison aspect feels underused, but it's also not entirely a prison. The first half of the game is get to the thing to get to the thing so we can get out, and precious little happens. You could also say most of Dead Space is Isaac Clarke fixing a ship, but there's some fun back and forth between the characters. Isaac is dealing with Nicole, and beyond space monsters, there's a Lovecraft element beneath it all. What is the purpose of the marker, and what are the strange whisperings? It leaves some mysteries open, but it's not banking purely on speculation. In Callisto, you're at ground zero of the virus outbreak, but with very little exploring and using your eyeballs, it's clear the prison was experimenting with the virus. So that can't be a twist, it's more where did this come from and why are they doing it?
Yeah, I suspected that, this prison is like a test bed for this virus, where these scientists are just experimenting on the inmates to see what happens to them. Okay, but now for what purpose? Why are they doing this? Because they obviously could see how dangerous, these creatures are, once a human being is infected with this disease. So why would they continue try to experiment on human beings with this disease? Yeah.
Jacob is also being haunted by visions of Max and some kind of anime cube. There's been a lot of cubes in my life recently. Anyhow, Elias explained the health bar they installed can scramble your brain a bit. Any hallucinations he's experiencing are going to be from that. Along the way, Danny is also freed, but runs off on her own agenda.
Okay, what's her name again? Danny? And she's the terrorist. Alright. I don't know, she doesn't look like the sort of person who would, kill a lot of people at that colony on, I think they said Europa, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, she seems a bit too cheery looking and kind of. I don't know. She doesn't look like someone who would commit mass murder like that, but maybe she'll surprise us.
No uneasy alliance between the three, and you're even out of contact with Elias for a good chunk. When you meet back up with him, Jacob asks what he did to be imprisoned. He says he killed in self-defense, but still admits he had responsibility for the situation.
Made a lot of bad decisions back then.
Yeah, well, you were probably just dealt the shitty hand.
No. It was just to blame everyone else. But then I realized this was on me. You can't keep running from what you've done.
Captain Ferris is around and transforming.
There's always a price to pay.
Just as we're getting more to Elias, he dies.
Gotta keep going. We gotta keep going. Come on.
No, bro. I'm done. Thank you. It's because of you. I got out.
The music swells, his life chokes out, and I was amazed that I felt sad. The performances are great enough to carry the moment, and it does feel sad that you didn't get to know him. Considering how much nothing there was until this point, it feels like a moment from another game. We get back on track though, because Danny shows up to loot him.
Hey, what are you doing? Hey!
There might be more of him though. You get a glimpse of him talking to somebody else, which seems like a tease for a DLC. They reluctantly team up, and Jacob tries to chastise her for ripping out Elias's implant. She explains they need it to survive, and he's been ripping out implants of people all game. Also saying that Jacob didn't really know him and might have just been using him. Because Jacob is a survivor. I don't know about that example, but that's the theme the game wants to beat you over the head with. Jacob will do whatever it takes to survive. Between more foiled escape attempts, Danny reveals why she and the Outer Way boarded his ship. She believes that he and his cargo had something to do with the attack on Europa. The UJC is actually evil, and the Outer Way are freedom fighters, because of course they are. And get this, he doesn't have what she's looking for.
Yeah, I kind of suspected that, this lady is not the person who committed all those, all those deaths. But yeah, to hear that the UJC is the main culprit is not really surprising, because this facility also uses inmates for their experiments. So if the UJC can do that, then there's no surprise about them actually killing a lot of people on the colony on Europa. So that's not really a surprise. Yeah.
Maybe he did have nothing to do with it. Exploring, you find more signs of experiments, and also strange conference rooms. It seems the warden would like hanging out in these, and also will appear holographically to tell the population that what's happening is for the good of all mankind. Traveling further, deep beneath Black Iron Prison is the original mining colony of Arcus. It was destroyed nearly a century ago by its own outbreak of the virus. UJC covered the whole thing up and built the prison over it. Except some research was still being done in the old colony, because this is where the virus originated from. Not from pure experiments or from the blood of a bull, but from a massive alien creature that was dwelling beneath the surface. Most of the moon is an abyssal ocean of alien terror, and I immediately wish that Jacob's suit was a diving suit and this was completely underwater and a different game entirely.
Okay, alright. That's interesting though. That is very interesting. They find an alien creature, in the waters of Callisto. Because, like I said before, Callisto on the surface, it is got some snowy, not snow, but ice caps, right? You can see them from space. And possibly, there is, flowing water under those ice caps. And here, they're showing it that, there is some water down underground in Callisto. And this is where they found this creature. Whether this creature actually belongs to the planet, like this is where the creature, hails from, or maybe it comes from outer space, from another solar system, somewhere in the galaxy or the universe, I should say. They haven't really explained that part, but yeah, this is interesting that there's this creature or dead corpse of a creature that has been, taken for examination, and it infected the colonists, and the UJC tried to cover that up, and they built a prison on top of the dead colony. Yeah, that's interesting.
We could have had people morphing into bizarre, deep-sea inspired creatures, but it's just zombies all the way through. We're above a sea of pure evils and unknowns, and we just get a kaiju that has larvae that make zombies. But not always. In the original outbreak, one of the colonists retained their intelligence and got superhuman strength and longevity. UJC dubbed him Subject Zero and has been trying to replicate it ever since. Well, the mutating Captain Ferris appears to be their dream come true, Subject Alpha, which makes everything start to sound more like the Anderson Resident Evil movies. Jacob escapes, but Danny is now well on her way to joining the many. Jacob wants to try and save her, even if he has no clue how, and luckily he's contacted by the doctor who installed his health bar. This is Dr. Mahler, and like most people in Jupiter's Alon school, she is full of guilt. She's burdened by the secret you discovered in the dark heart of Black Iron Prison. UJC was experimenting on the inmates. Wait, do they think that was like a twist? You've known that for hours. You might have known that before you picked up the game. We've already gone over this. How is it a reveal? Subject Zero? It's really this bland?
The next phase of human evolution.
When I first heard that, I think I felt something bursting in my chest. What year is it? Does the biophage virus let you use 100% of your brain? Mahler explains that to cure Danny, Jacob will need to inject her with a DNA sample from Subject Alpha. So now you have a good reason to go face down Starkiller. But Mahler also starts a data transfer between you and Danny's chips, so you can see more of what she knows. You travel into Danny's memories of the Europa attack, and it's revealed that the anime cube was a stand-in for the worm larva tube, and that Danny's sister died in the attack. And second reveal, Jacob knew there was definitely something fishy about the runs he and Max were doing. So the Max visions were his guilt over knowing something was up. But there's even more.
Europa wasn't a terrorist attack. They doctored the footage to cover up what they were planning to test in Black Iron.
Why are we retreading this too? We know UJC was behind it. And there's more I don't get about this, but we'll hold off a bit. Jacob is now driven to help Danny to make things right, and they discover the Illuminati Tower. There's some bizarre furniture and displays.
Oh, looks very nice. Very clean. Very organized. Yeah. Oh.
Looks like a Greek warrior slaying the monster beneath the surface. And golden masks, which prepares you to meet the Warden and the Evil Council.
Right on time. He approaches. The survivor. Solitarius.
Where's the Alpha?
The Warden smugs about Jacob really isn't an innocent and he'll do anything to survive. It's delivered like Jacob has been ruthless, but he's mainly been falling. He didn't steal Elias's heir and everyone he fought was in self-defense, but that one guy did say wait before he got him. Is it to parallel Elias where the decision put him in the situation? Where the decision is muddy enough that he could still be in denial about it? I don't know, the Warden talks like you've been eating eyeballs and not falling and climbing. Then he explains the point of the Callisto Protocol.
The protocol isn't about death. It's about life. Our future lies out there. Our destiny.
This is what I mean about the lack of knowledge about the setting hurting the story. The next phase of human evolution will help humanity survive in space. Except it never clearly established that humanity isn't doing well in space.
Okay, that's interesting. It also reminds me of The Expanse. You know, the proto-molecule in The Expanse TV show. If you guys know about The Expanse TV show, then you know what I'm talking about when I say the proto-molecule. And how the proto-molecule was used in experiments on human beings on different colonies, or should I say one particular colony. I forgot the planet. It wasn't a planet. It was like an asteroid, I think. Yeah, they tried to test the proto-molecules on an asteroid that had a colony on it, and to see what would happen. And a lot of people died. You know, they were infected with this proto-molecule. And the scientists that, you know, did this experiment, you know, they were saying that, you know, they were trying to have a second evolution of humanity through the discovery of the proto-molecule. You know, they were saying that, you know, humanity could exist in space without spacesuits. They could travel to other star systems without needing of food or oxygen or any of the things that humans require to survive in space and long durations of space travel, you know. And yeah, they were experimenting this proto-molecule on civilians, trying to see how it evolves, how it adapts, and, you know, they were doing some really nasty things, all in the name of science and advancement. And it's wrong. Really, it's just wrong. So what's happening here on this on this moon, on Callisto, is also extremely wrong. You know, no matter how amazing this new development may be, you know, to have it on the backs of those who have died, it's so wrong. Really.
Only insight is an alley post-terrorist attack, a cargo ship, and a prison. It was a cover-up, but a prison moon isn't a great use of resources if we're struggling. Having rundown areas in space can imply the opposite. Imagine how far technology would have to come and how mundane space would be for there to be a shanty town on Mars. I'm just assuming we're stuck in the solar system in this setting, but even that's unclear. While 3 did muddy it up, Dead Space made the issues of its setting way more visible, like extinct animal friend plushies, or synthetic plants. This is raising the stakes when we don't know what the damn card game is. My view of Italy wouldn't be clear if I was only in prison there. After that, the Warden has you fight Ferris to prove his evolution is superior.
Oh my gosh, look at him. Oof. Guys, I don't want to evolve into something like that. That's not human evolution. What is that?
His main purpose has also been to say that Jacob is guilty.
Are you trying to run from what you've done?
You fight him, he gets big, he dies, and the Warden loses his bet.
Don't do it, you asshole! Fucking loser!
What are you so worked up about?
I put a lot of money on that dickhead to win.
How much did you bet?
$1 million bucks!
Oh.
You think you've...
Well done, MandaloreGaming. Well done. And really, those Illuminati people really do look like this guy from that Netflix TV show. What was it called again? I forgot what was the name. Oh man, how can I forget the name? I forgot the name. I forgot the name. I'll come back. But yes, very good, MandaloreGaming, very good.
Beaten us. Ferris was weak, an imperfect vessel. But in that sample is the key to unlocking a centuries-old dream.
The dream of space travel? Or something else? I'm also not sure why the Warden only wants the syringe, because there's a whole lot of leftover Sam Witwer over there. Anyways, he was a hologram the whole time, the place starts blowing up, there's only one escape pod, and Jacob throws Danny on it. She has the proof to expose the UJC, and Jacob has come to terms with what he's done. Mahler said she belonged in Black Iron, and in the end, he accepts that he does too. It is one note, but it is an arc, and I can't—
Jacob, there might be a way out after all.
The active core temporary savings activated.
But I'm going to need your help.
Oh cool, it's like Dead Space. Okay, the Illuminati thing opens a lot of questions. I won't waste your time speculating because PUBG. I haven't played it in a while and didn't know it had a story. Taken on its own, I thought the protocol was inspired by PUBG, the in-game protocol. They had tried for years to recreate Subject Zero and couldn't, so the new Warden Cole had a radical idea. Evolution won't happen in the lab, it'll happen in the wild. The environment being too controlled must be the flaw. The Europa attack was an outbreak of a diluted, airborne version of the virus. It killed but didn't turn people into creatures, or create meat moss, or all the eggs, or— well, who knows how the virus works, and it doesn't matter. Even though a lot of people died and no alpha was produced, along with anything of value, this inspired the Warden. So he turned his prison into a Fortnite map. All the cells were opened, the robots were ordered to kill any humans, and the virus released.
Madness. Absolute madness. And where is the oversight of such, you know, of such madness? Where are the governments, you know, that would oversight this company, you know, having administrative control in Jupiter? Because this is just, it's insane. All those people dead, for what? For what? What a waste.
This executive order was the Callisto Protocol. And it worked. He got his alpha, even though it died to a normal man. On its own, a battle royale doesn't determine who's the smartest or strongest, there are all kinds of outside factors. Ferris may have lost, but this leading to a new competing race of goop people could be interesting. But what did he mean by centuries-old question? At first I thought purely the setup was a homage to PUBG, like, oh, it's a secret battle royale. Then I spent 3 whole minutes on the story page. To win the battleground is to be Vir Solidarius, the lone survivor. Hang on. They changed a letter around, but centuries-old Cabal, what is that? Oh, this is like Project Snowblind, where it couldn't be Deus Ex at the last second. It's still basically a PUBG tie-in with minimum effort to scrub it out. That's why these lofty talks about space colonization make no sense, and why there's very little mention of any lore of the greater setting. Apparently in PUBG's future, the Earth is very degraded and death games are legal. They may have built a setting extended out from that, and then scrapped it. That explains why you're told so little about the setting and why things don't add up. The Warden's original plan may have been, these Sam Witwers will look real fucking cool in the arena. But you know what? That would at least have everything add up. It doesn't mean the game was amazing at one point, but the hollowness of the world makes so much sense now. I can't believe it's not PUBG. I was not expecting this.
Yeah, that is an interesting connection right there, you know, with PUBG and Callisto Protocol. Maybe they should have continued with that, but
Oh, it's a scary lullaby. It really is painful because in a perfect world, this would be the debut of a great new sci-fi horror franchise. But instead I played a game that doesn't seem to know what it wants to be. There is some fun to be had with stuff like the grip, but melee is the core. A core that's still being tweaked that has the depth of the Cha-Cha slide and not half that fun. The story is barren and one note, and keeps trying to remind you of a different game. If this wants to succeed, it has to get weird and off the range. It can't keep invoking Dead Space. The remake has already won that war, even if parts of it were more sanitized. They have elements in the game that they could do interesting things with, it's just a question of whether they will. Between that and figuring out combat, it's gonna be a rough road. Obviously, no, right now I don't recommend the Callisto Protocol, especially not at full price. I'll keep an eye on it though, I'll play their new story edition later. For now though, you can just play the original Dead Space again. Any Dead Space game actually. Even 3. That has co-op and Nick Crompton comes back from 2. Dead Space Mobile's not too shabby. Can always try that.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I'll see. I will see.
This one's not ready.
Because that's what hell is all about, Robbie. Repetition.
Have I used these videos as an excuse to finish a game I never did? I believe Duskers, Necrovision, and Kingdom Under Fire. If there had been others, I can't remember. What's my favorite class in RPGs? Assuming video games, paladins and necromancers. The issue is, there are plenty of RPGs where you could play a paladin and have just a fine time, but there are so few games that get a necromancer right, if they even have it at all. So I am more lopsided, but not by choice. What other disappointing spiritual successors come to mind? In my brain, it'll be so hard to top Mighty No. 9 because so much was flubbed about it. Beyond just the game itself, like marketing, but Back 4 Blood is kind of up there too. Is there an era of gaming I'm glad is behind us? Oh, that's an easy one. 7th Gen was pretty terrible. Am I burned out from Marathon, or will Halo be soon? I'm not burned out, I'm neither high nor low, but Halo might not be the direct follow-up. We'll see how things go, but there might be some hints.
Okay guys, yes, that is it with Mandalore Gaming's Callisto Protocol review. Yeah, this game was all over the place. The storyline, it does sound interesting, you know, a corporation that cares nothing for human life, only concerned with the advancement of their profits and, you know, having an advantage and, you know, probably, yes, creating far more advanced human beings for space travel or for some sort of gladiatorial battle on Earth. Yeah, that sounds all interesting, but I don't know. I just couldn't really connect with the storyline. Or maybe it's because we've been focusing so much on, you know, the gameplay and the graphics and, you know, how it's trying to emulate Dead Space, the Dead Space franchise. But yeah, I wasn't really into the storyline as much, you know. And when it comes to the music as well, it wasn't really that notable, you know, you couldn't really hear much of it. The graphics, yes, very good, very beautiful. The style of fighting and using weapons and how Jacob, the main character, is able to evade enemy attacks and how the enemy, you know, these creatures attack you one by one. I don't know. I don't really understand why did they do that, but yeah, it doesn't really look that fun. And the fact that the camera is, you know, moving with you, you know, you're not really seeing from a distance about, you know, what's going on around you, is also very concerning, you know, because an enemy can come from behind you, can come from your sides and attack you while you're focusing on one particular creature in front of you. So yeah, that's not really good, actually, you know. And how they depicted Callisto, I'm not really convinced. I'm not really impressed with that, you know. It really looks like some sort of ice world. And even the gravity on Callisto, you know, the way Jacob was walking around here, it seemed as if it was like normal Earth gravity, and it should not be that way because it's a moon, you know, and it has less gravity compared to a planet like Earth. So, you know, these guys should be jumping around at least, or, you know, things falling down slower than how they would on Earth with 1G gravity. So yeah, the moon was not really convincing, you know, in terms of the atmosphere, in terms of you know, how it looks like on the surface, and yes, the gravity, like I was just talking about. So it wasn't really convincing with the moon. And yeah, you know, the actors from Transformers, from Star Wars, yes, you know, it's good that they're here too, you know. Got to see their faces and the game in the gameplay, and yeah, it looked fun with that. But I don't think it's a game that I would play, really. Not just because it looks scary, but I don't know, the storyline is not really. I'm not really getting it, you know. I'm not really enjoying it as much. I think maybe I need to watch the gameplay for this game and just to see what goes on in it. But yeah, I wasn't really feeling the storyline. And yeah, I think that's it. I think that's about it. Guys, Remember, if you want to check out the original video as well as MandaloreGaming's YouTube channel, the links are in the description below. If you like my reaction, please give me a like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. Click on the notification bell if you want to be up to date with my latest videos. And I will see you guys next time. Thank you again to Alpha Shocker for requesting that I should react to this video. It's been very interesting. But yeah, it's not a game that I would play, really. If I were to play it, it'll just be once. Oh yes, and if they make a Callisto Protocol 2, yeah guys, just try to find your own path. Don't emulate Dead Space. Don't, you know, look at other games and try to copy them almost to the T. You know, try to make it your own horror space game. Yeah. But you got a good thing here. It's just maybe it needs to be ironed out a bit more. Yeah. Okay, guys, that's it. Bye bye.